Kicking It. Before we get the show started, remember to follow us on all social media platforms. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and what's the last one? Spotify.
Spotify, yep.
Google Play, but I don't know what's going on with Google Play. I don't know if they're changing their stuff or whatnot.
Yeah, they're adapting, so it doesn't matter. So
yeah, I'm Ed. We've got Tom in the building, and without further ado, we have a very special guest with us. We have Elvin, the owner or co-owner, excuse me, I don't want to offend anybody, co-owner of Shear Junkies Barbershop, 20 plus years in the business, creator of the Spear Fade, has done plenty of hairstyles for a ton of celebrities. He'll mention those hopefully at some point here on the show, and has also has partaken in barber battles. Also has done barber battles and all that good stuff.
Judge.
We'll get the show started so he could share his stories,
all
and
right,
all that good stuff. And I
also
it's
wanted to... It's cool to hear you guys say that, because sometimes you forget, how the accomplishments that you've done, and it's good to hear that sometimes, right? I've done that. Like, man, that's kind of cool, right? Like it's something that something you forget, right?
Hey, I mean, but those are great accomplishments, man.
Of course they are. So, Elvin, what made you get into the barber business?
So to be honest, it wasn't a big plan per se, but I graduated high school, and I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do, right? Even though I was cutting hair in the garage, I was just kind of like, what am I gonna do now, right? And long story short, I went ahead and did I walked through the auto and body school, right, to like fix up cars, paint them, and all that, right? Things.
Okay.
And I got done with that tour. I was like, yeah, I want to do this. This is it. This is my career, my new career, right? I called my dad and I said, hey, Dad, I found out what I wanted to do. And he was like, oh, man, you really want to be all dirty and sweaty and, nothing against anybody that has that kind of job, right? But he was just saying, hey, look, you're going to be hot. Your hands are going to get banged up, things like that. And he was like, hey, aren't you cutting hair at the house already? Why don't you just do that? And sure enough, hold on, I got these dogs barking.
But your beast, the beast.
It's the bodyguards. The bodyguards.
That's the pit bulls. The pit bulls.
But like I was saying, they're definitely not pit bulls. They're definitely not pit bulls. So he approached me with that, and I was like, well, you know what? That sounds about right. So the next day I went ahead and signed up. But it wasn't something that I was, counting on doing after high school. I was just doing it because I liked it, right? It was making me to stay clean, keep my friends clean, and make some extra cash for the weekend, but never beyond that, and even less be an owner of a shop, that wasn't in my thoughts at all.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I'm glad actually, to be honest, that your dad actually hit you up and he told you like what your direction could be. There's certain people that don't have that direction yet, but they need to have that, which is awesome.
100%. My dad is no longer here with us, and those are the memories, some of the memories that you're like, man, if he wasn't around, man, my life would have been something else, and just that little detail of information from my dad was like light bulb, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing it now. Why not keep going, right?
Correct.
Right. To let all the listeners know and the viewers know, you are my barber sometimes because you're a busy man, and I understand that. You're a busy man, and I'm not the only celebrity that you cut the hair of. You know what I'm saying?
You call yourself a celebrity? What are you talking about?
He's a local celebrity.
The local one.
I wanted to share a story of walking into the barbershop one morning, early in the morning, and
it was early. So I know what story you're talking about.
It was early. I walked into the barbershop, and my brother was sitting there. One of our best friends, Raul, was sitting there. Shout out to Raul. Good dude.
Raul.
Hey. And then I sit down and they give me this look. and they're like, yo, yo. And they're nodding their head, yo, kind of like look over there. And I'm like, it's early. I'm picking my eye boogies out, and I look over, and I'm like, yeah,
Your
what's
eye
up?
boogies.
Elvin's cutting hair. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, and they open their eyes, and they're like, dude. And I'm like, I look, and I'm like, what? And I still wasn't getting it. And then I was like, and I think you had him from my angle. I could only see the back of his head, and then some of his face from the mirror. And then you turn him around to get, to get to hit another angle to cut his hair. And I'm like, oh, shoot, that's the reggaeton artist Yandel. And I'm like, oh, snap. And we're all looking at, and they were looking at me like, come on, dummy. And I'm like, oh, that
Well,
was
let,
like,
every,
that was
let
so,
everybody know that Elvin's chair is in the front. So it's the first one on the right.
and so to me, that was a time where I said, man, Elvin is now stepping into a whole different level. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more than just his friends and a huge clientele. Now you're moving in a different direction. And this is before you had started your own barbershop, opened up your own
That's
barbershop.
correct. That's correct. That's true.
So how does it feel, cutting a celebrity's hair? Is it, and how did that become into fruition that you're cutting a reggaeton artist's hair? And is that the only celebrity that you cut?
No, so that's one of the perks of being a barber. Not only do you meet excellent people in the community, but you get the privilege of taking care of some big names as well. But I always like to look at that angle of the business as something that you have to really what's the word you have to treat with respect, right? In other words, these things happen, and they don't really happen because I'm a great barber. It doesn't really work that way, right? But it more or less happens because you treat people right, and they put you in certain situations or certain positions to have those opportunities, right? So with this said, the way that came to be was I started cutting Jerry Rivera's son, right? Jerry Rivera being
wow.
a very famous salsa singer, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, my
treating them
cousin.
well,
My
treating them
cousin.
with respect led me to cutting their manager's hair, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
once I
Okay.
started cutting their manager's hair, he had just started a contract with Jandel, and Jandel was actually moving to Orlando at that time. So Andy Martinez is basically like it's his manager, and he's like, hey, I have a good friend of mine. He needs a haircut. Can you take care of him? I said, of course. No worries. Send him on. So the gentleman gets there, and he sits down in my chair. I start cutting his hair, and I say, hey, what are you into? He's like, oh, I'm really into the music industry. I do this, I do that, but nothing very specific with that said, right? And long story short, he gets his haircut, he leaves, and everybody in the shop looks at me like I'm crazy, and they're like, hey, don't you know who you were cutting? And I said, not really. Who was it? And they're like, it was Jandel. And I was like, get out of here, right? So I took care of this guy, an idiot, not knowing who he was. And right away, I go ahead and call Andy, and I say, hey, Andy, my bad. Hopefully, I didn't offend him, but I didn't recognize who he was. So by any means, I didn't mean to disrespect him at all. And he was like, you know what? That's probably for the best, because he felt like he felt comfortable. He didn't feel like you were trying to talk to him because he was somebody, and you basically ended up treating him like anybody else because of that, right? And I learned a lot from that conversation that me and him had, and from that point forward, featured celebrities I got to sit in my chair got a treatment as if they were any other client, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what they're really looking for.
Right. I mean, that's the main way. I think, to be honest, is like everybody that's famous technically has that whole brush, and like everybody coming to them, and to a point where like, okay, if this guy's treating me like an equal, that's what I want. I don't want that whole paparazzi next to me all the time thinking of that sort. I just want to shoot the crap with the guys, and there you go. And
And that's
that's
it.
awesome that you appreciate that and you actually supply that for them, because that's what they're looking for. They want a like a sense of reality,
That's
because they
right.
live such a big high level. They want to come back and say, you know what, I'm just one of the guys, bro. Treat me
Especially,
like
you know
that.
what? especially at the barbershop, man. At the barbershop, we all as guys want to come in there and just feel like this is a man zone, right? This is like a hangout zone. We can talk about whatever, and they're looking for the same thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? And they don't want to be pressured into taking a bunch of pictures, and that's gonna happen, right? And they understand that. But I'll give you a good example. I've taken care of other people or other celebrities in the past, and it'll usually take me about 3 or 4 visits with that particular person or that celebrity to really take a picture or even ask for a picture, right? And just out of respect, I tend to wait multiple visits before I actually take that one picture with them, just out of respect and making sure that they understand that, you're just like any other client. We're going to treat you just like anybody else, right? We're love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, rumor has it that you might have or might not have cut Kobe Bryant's hair. Is this a true rumor or a false rumor?
No, that's definitely a good rumor and a true rumor.
But what hair does he have? As he was bald.
It really did happen, and it happened almost exactly a year prior to him passing away, which is very sad for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I got to meet somebody that really, honestly, man, I can't sit here and say I was the biggest fan and that I follow basketball and sports like I used to, because I don't, right? But so to my understanding, I was like, oh, this guy's probably gonna be a little stuck up, whatever, but either way, I want to go. It's a great opportunity to meet somebody famous and just have a good time with them, right? So complete opposite, man. We had a great conversation. I felt like I was just normal, like he was a normal guy, and we got to talk a little bit about his career and what if did he miss basketball, which he said he didn't miss basketball, and that blew my mind, because I'm like, hey, if I stop cutting hair today, I'm gonna miss cutting hair. You know what I'm saying? So that's a piece of the conversation that I'll never forget, and I'll tell you why. Once he passed away, there was a lot of conversation or talks about how all he wanted to do was spend time with his girls, right? With his daughter, with his wife, right? And that he wanted that more than anything else. And when I heard those conversations after him passing, I get goosebumps. Look at the goosebumps. But after I heard those conversations after the fact, I realized that that's the reason why, that's the reason why he said, I don't miss it. What he really missed was spending time with his family, right? And I can relate to that, because I have 2 girls at the house. I got my wife. You get what I'm saying? And to be honest, I do like spending time with them, and I do like to take time for them. And I'm sure with his career, I'm sure he didn't have much of that, right? So that's something from the conversation that really spoke to me.
Now, real quick, how did you first know that cutting hair, that you were good at cutting hair? Like, did you cut a friend's hair? Did someone say, hey, Elvin, can you try to at least give me a quick fade? You think you could do that? And you're like, I think I could do a fade. Because I don't remember that. I just remember you already knew how to cut, and then you were already cutting in my garage. Was there a starting point of when you knew that there was something there?
Yeah, the starting point was me pushing my edges back. I have a big forehead as it is, right? So I ended up with a bigger forehead, bro. It's crazy.
But
to be honest, man, I just to touch bases on that again. I would travel to the barbershop, which at that time was kind of far away. Nowadays, in Orlando, Central Florida, right? There's shops everywhere. Yeah. Back in the days, early 90s, mid 90s, I would say, right? There really wasn't that many shops in Winford. You can relate to that, right? There wasn't that many shops, and I would have to travel from Winter Garden down to East Orlando, right? Yeah. Which is maybe 45 to an hour away. And my mom would take me, right? There was no car available, so my mom would take me and wait for me, 3-4 hours, right? There was no appointments back then. So my mom could afford to do that once a month, right? So in between every haircut, I would try to clean myself up. I would try to do my little taper on the side, and little by little, I kept doing more and more to the point where I was fully cutting my own hair. And from that point forward, Raul, Angel, Jeff Bondi, they all started saying, hey, clean me up here, clean me up there. And until we get back to the barbershop, and sure enough, I started doing that. I can't say I was great, but I can say that I was really motivated to really keep learning. You know,
That's
and
awesome.
It's
I have to tell you,
awesome.
I cut them many times. I cut them many times. And Winfrey, you know about, I used to cut
Yeah.
you guys in the back of the ear right over here, right? By the little
Yeah.
lump.
The
And
Knicks.
that happened on the regular, but you know how they say, you know, you practice enough and you get there.
Yep, you live and you learn.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
shout out to all those friends of ours, man, that made everything possible. Shout out to Jeff Bondi as well. We can't forget Jeff. That dude
Yeah,
right there.
Raul,
I know he's
uh,
helped you out a lot.
Bernal. Right, yeah,
Every time I go into the barbershop, he's sweeping up the barbershop like he works there, you know?
that's right. No, Bondi, you know, Bondi had a big part in our business from the get, man. He's a handyman, but he's more than a handyman, man. This guy to take care of any kind of construction situation for you. And he's always giving us a hand, man. Like I said,
Uh-oh.
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 and he's always been like a brother to me. Anytime his help, he's been there. And like I said, he was a big part of us in our opening, right?
Okay.
From doing construction work at the first location to laying down flooring. In our second location, tearing down walls, putting up new walls, all kinds of stuff, man. This guy has been a major part in our shop.
That's
That's
good.
awesome. I like to hear that, man, because, you know, sometimes without your friends,
I don't know if this is the same guy, but Jeff Bondi also that I knew that worked for Freeman.
Yeah, same guy.
Yep. Well, then
Not
I know
anymore.
it. Not anymore. I know that for a fact.
Nah,
You
he
don't like
started his own thing, bro. This guy started his own thing. He has his own business, doing amazing.
exactly.
Yeah, he's doing good.
But
He's doing
I
good.
I remember him because I used to be a forklift driver for Freeman. I was part of the union, and I knew Jeff.
Gotcha.
Amazing guy. But like I've said before, and I'll say it again. You know, I've been blessed with like amazing friends. I've always known that, right? I've always known that I've always had really good friends, and that's including you, Winfred. You know, you guys have been amazing. You guys, you know, helped me out in the beginning of my career. You know, even though there were house calls, man, they got me pumped. You know, and I was making some money and hooking you guys up. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and when you open up the shop, you know, everyone, wherever I worked, everyone would always ask me, "Yo, where'd you get your hair cut?" I say, "Oh, you
Yep.
got to go here," and they're like, "Okay," and I kept sending
That's when
whoever
I
I
started to
could
go.
to the barbershop, you know.
Yep.
No,
And some
and all that really helped. You know, all the support from everybody helped. You know, like I said before, you know, it was never in my plans to have my own shop. It did happen, and I'm glad that the support was there.
that is awesome, bro. Like seriously, I mean, you've done it the right way, hard work and dedication. I mean,
And you know what, Winfred? It's all been organic. It's all been
Yeah.
organic. We haven't gotten a loan from anybody. Nobody said, "Let me help you guys out." Nah, you know. Obviously, my father and my partner's father put in a couple of dollars, but at the end of the day, man, it was all organic. We never had to owe money back to nobody, right? So at the end of the day, there's no real excuse for if you want to do it, you can figure it out, man. Like I always say, jump head first and figure it out from there.
we can't
once
forget
you
you,
right?
we can't forget your business partner Tito. Shout out to Tito as well.
That's right. He's family. He's like my brother. And to be honest, it's crazy, right? Because we met here. You know, I've been here since '89. I grew up in Orlando. He got here later on in life, right? In his 20s. And it's the funny thing about that is that me and Tito are actually from the same community in PR.
Wow.
We're literally houses away from each other's house, and we never knew each other back
Oh
in Puerto
wow.
Rico.
Oh,
We
wow.
met each other here, right? Which is a great situation, right? Because when I'm in PR and he's there, we're able to meet up and all that. So that's
Right.
really cool. That's a really cool thing.
That is cool.
That is cool.
I'm gonna ask you a quick question because when I walk into the barbershop, there are certain things in the barbershop that I like to respect, and it's kind of funny because I don't know if you want to share some little stories. I have a pet peeve. When I walk into the barbershop, I sit down where I'm supposed to in the waiting area, but there are certain clientele
People that come up to
that
the
come
barbers
in.
and hang out.
They say hi to everybody. I understand you say hi to everybody. Sometimes I feel like, you know, everyone's working. I don't like to say hi to everybody because I feel like I respect your workspace. You're working, but they want to come, and then after they say hi to everyone, they go to their prospective barber, and then they stand there and they just kind of just start chatting it up, you know.
Right.
And then they'll sit in the barber chair next to it if it's empty. And I feel that's kind of disrespectful. Because if I'm working at McDonald's or if I'm working at UPS and I'm loading up a truck or I'm flipping burgers, you know, my buddy isn't gonna come walk into the kitchen, say hi to everybody, and then stand right next to me and say, "Hey man, so what's up? What's going on, man?" You know, I'm working here, like, you know, but I don't know if that's something
You
that,
know what
that
it is?
irks
I'll tell
you,
what
or
it
is
is.
it?
What happens with that is the fact that a barbershop is literally a community, right? It's a hub. It's a hub. It's a hangout spot, right? And when I say hangout, I don't mean that people hang out there all day, but when they arrive to the shop,
Well,
you're
I don't know
almost
about
arriving to
that.
your
The all
home.
day thing is possible. That's another
You're
one I
arriving
got.
to your house. You're
I
arriving
agree
to all
with
your
that.
buddies and that. And sometimes that happens. You know, now I'll tell you what. I know my clientele, and if I feel like the client that I have in my chair is not cool with that, or they don't know each other like that. Because one thing is for me to have you in the chair and Raul come up to me and we're all, you know, talking over here. That's a whole different situation. But if it's a client that arrives and my client is in the chair and doesn't know him, I'll talk it up with him a little bit, but I'll make it known that, hey, let me get back with you. Let me keep cutting over here, right? Especially if it's the type of client that you know is gonna get frustrated with the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens. It happens. And you know, I even have situations where I'm like, yo, why did you come in through the back of the door, the back of the shop? And we'll joke about it. We'll joke about it, right? And to make sure it doesn't happen again. But it's crazy, right? How you can do you walk through the back of McDonald's?
No,
Do you go through the
No.
back entry of Walmart?
no.
Do you go to the gas station walking through the back? Like I just don't get it, right? But these are things that happen in the shop, and you know, I guess you could say shop stories, right? And you know, you got nip those in the butt, but they tend to happen. You're almost like, why? Like, why does that happen? This is like any other business, but it does happen, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But we try to keep it balanced, I guess, you know.
I'm all about respect, you know. I call them the floaters, especially the ones that are after they're done getting a haircut. Then they're like, all
They
right,
still
and
stay around.
then they stand right next
Yeah.
to them, and they're just like talking to them like nothing. You're like, and the guy, you know, you can see the barber like, all right, next person, you know, and then the guy's just still standing there hovering, you know. It's like,
But you know what? You know why I say
hovering.
balance? You know why I say balance, Winfred? Because some of those guys create a really cool atmosphere in the shop.
I mean, that's true.
You
That's
get what
true.
I'm saying? So in a way, it's like, man, like they don't really bother like that. But if they did it, you would have to let it be known. But at the same time, that those are characters from the shop that do bring a certain, you know, environment to the shop. You know, atmosphere
Yeah.
to the shop.
Have you ever run
If that
into?
makes any sense, right? I think it does, right? Some of these guys are characters,
No,
you know, and
that makes
they
sense
just keep
though.
a full vibe going.
Yeah, it's like the same things. Like you're cutting here every day, so it's like okay, monotonous. And next thing you know, they come in. It's like whoa, like the character
And
came in the room, and that's how it works.
there's clients that walk in that shop and then the shop gets live.
There you
You get
go.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It starts
yeah,
popping off, and you're like,
yeah.
this guy walked in, and just the whole environment changed. And that thing to me is really cool, right?
Yep.
I think that's a super cool situation, right? When that happens too.
I wanted to touch on one more thing real quick. We've got just a few minutes left. I think that barbershops, tattoo parlors, a lot of these businesses that are one-on-one, you know, hairstylists, you guys have a really interesting job because you know, a lot of times the clients that sit on those chairs, you have some really deep conversations, a lot of times deeper than these people share with psychologists or anyone else. And
We are psychologists. We're barbers and psychologists, bro. Like we do it all.
I'm
They're
telling you,
therapists.
yeah,
They're
you
therapists
Yeah,
guys,
when it
we
comes
are
to it.
that. We are that.
you guys must hear some stories that probably no one else has ever heard before.
I'm gonna tell you something before we get to that. When you say stories, right, it kind of relates to what I was just thinking about, right? This is something that happens all the time. I don't think most barbers or most clients realize, right? We realize as barbers, right? But let me tell you what happens, right? When there's a major event, whether it's a Super Bowl, a basketball game, or something in the news, What do you think our conversations about all day long?
That
So
game.
if it was the Super Bowl, guess what? You have the barbers having that conversation with each client that sits down in that chair for the whole
Pretty
week.
much. Pretty much.
If there's something that happened in the news, we're gonna be talking about, bro. And at times you're like, oh man, here we go, why not the same conversation again, right? And it's something that we kind of have to go with. But
Mental
I just
note.
thought I would bring that up
Don't
because
bring
that's really
up
funny. But in
COVID.
regards to us and communicating with our clients, you know, I have clients, bro, that have literally cried in my chair, talking about what's going on with their lives, you know, going through divorces, you know, going through child custody situations, you know, maybe depression, everything you could imagine. We've talked about with our clients, and I think that's a big part of what we do, right? You know, not only I'm also a big believer in getting a haircut and feeling better about yourself as soon as you do that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all in the same sense, you're making somebody not only look good, but they're able to just talk to you about things that they probably don't even talk about with their wives.
Right.
I
You know
agree.
what I'm saying? They probably their best friends don't even know about these conversations, you know? And it's something that we have to treat with respect as well, right? And we make sure we keep those things to ourselves a lot of times, because these are private moments where they're like, man, this is happening, you know, or maybe a major, you know, I'll say this story, you know, which really is one of my clients, you know, she did the transgender thing, you know, and she's now a boy. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that she has shared with me throughout the whole process.
Wow.
And I'll tell you the truth, man, I have a lot of love for him, right? Because I've been able to share that experience with her, right? And her moments when she's been really down and so on. But those are things that some clients need, right? Some clients need to for them, right? And have those conversations. I think it means a lot more than what we think what they mean.
Well, man, Elvin, we're running out of time, and I mean, we could talk more stories and
over again,
and we could sit here forever. We might have to do a part 2. So that depends on what the
down
listeners
for a
want.
Part 2, guys. I'm down for a
We might have to do a
part
part
2.
2.
I do appreciate you guys bringing me on board and doing this interview with me.
So thank you so much. Please go ahead and take the opportunity to plug anything that you would like to plug, you know, social media wise or anything else that people could see you, or if they want to book something with you or whatever it is.
For sure. So I'll give you our Instagram, which would be Shear Junkies. Also our Facebook will be the same, Shear Junkies. And we're located at 8355 South John Young Parkway in Orlando. Hit us up, you know, come see us, and we'll be happy to serve you.
Nice.
Just mention casually kicking it, and definitely we'll see where you're going.
You mentioned casually kicking it. You heard it on Casually Kicking It.
That's right.
Hey, man, thanks again for being with us. You have had so many accomplishments, and we hey, and we wish you, you know, so much more, you know, in the growth
blessings,
of
everything
business.
I appreciate you guys, man. Like I said, man, I appreciate you guys calling me up for this. And count on me. You know, next time you need to do something else, if you want to interview me again, I'm always down for that. So it's always fun.
Same thing here. If you got a barber battle coming up, let us know.
Hey, we'll go MC it. Let's go.
We should be working together for sure, 100%.
All right, Elvin. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much again for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to us on. We're on YouTube again. We also have some merchandise for you guys. Go ahead and listen. Head over to Storefront Tier, and in the search engine, type in "Casually Kicking It." Our store should pop up. You click and shop away. Grab whatever you want. And
you got onesies, you got t-shirts, you got hoodies, you got whatever you want.
All kinds of stuff. And we also have some limited edition shirts and stuff. So those will only be there for a little bit. So make sure you don't waste time on getting those. So that's our time for today.
All right.
We're out of here.
Love you.